The story of Saint Thérèse of Lisieux's life on earth goes something like this. She was born on January 2nd, 1873, in Alençon, France, to a father who made clocks and a mother who made lace. She had 8 brothers and sisters, 4 of whom died at a young age. Their mother died when Thérèse was young, and this was a trial for their family. Later on, she and her sisters would enter religious life, and their father would fall ill and die, and after most of them had all left. In the end, Thérèse died at the young age of 24 in 1897 and was known only to a few in her death, as she was throughout her life. This is the story of Thérèse's life on earth. So how could such a storm of glory rise up, in the words of Pope Pius XI, after her seemingly unimpressive life and death? To answer that, we need to turn to the story of her soul. This Advent, we'll explore the riches of Thérèse's spiritual life and her teaching on God's mercy and grace, as well as the confidence of a child of God, using some of her own writings to guide us. And in the end, we'll arrive at the greatest mercy God has ever shown us, the birth and history of his beloved Son, Jesus. Thérèse had an amazing capacity to look back over her life and recognize how God was working in the smallest things. God gave her the grace to read the story of her soul in the light of Christ. So the attention to detail that was required in the professions of her father and mother, Zélie and Louis, was spiritually transferred over to their daughter Thérèse. Every flower, every game, every feast day was a little revelation of God's grace for her. God also acted in more hidden ways, such as in the death of her mother and her father. These were times of great trial for Thérèse and her sisters, but ultimately they brought them closer to each other and closer to God. At other times, God acted in very obvious ways, such as when Mary healed Thérèse from her very mysterious illness, just at the moment her sisters thought it was the end for little Thérèse. Or in her pivotal Christmas grace, as she called it, God made her grow up out of her extreme sensitivity and childishness, although she never left behind her trusting and confident childlikeness. In being able to see God's action in every detail of her history, Thérèse reflects the path of salvation history as well. God's actions are not random. They're always out of love, always for a purpose. And that purpose is to draw close to us and draw us close to Him. In the Old Testament, there was a constant drama of God choosing a people for Himself and making a covenant with them, only for His people to break that covenant, usually within the next few pages of the Bible. As time went on, God's people saw how He acted towards them, with constant fidelity, mercy, and love. They gained confidence from this, but still could not keep the covenants God had made with them. And so they cried out for a Savior, a Messiah, who would make a new and everlasting covenant for the forgiveness of sins. In the fullness of time, on Christmas Day, God answered. Since then, the story has not ended. It's continued with the Church, with Saint Thérèse, and with us today. This Christmas, we'll remember the Father's greatest grace that He gave to us, His Son, Jesus Christ. To prepare for that, however, we'll walk with Thérèse this Advent in singing the mercies of the Lord, recalling all the good things He did for her soul and all the good things He continues to do for ours. Above all, we remember that it's confidence in His mercy and nothing but confidence that will lead us to love. So from the Friars in Boston, I wish you all a very blessed Advent season.